Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Easy Set series of wood vision frames. Easy Set is the manufacturer. They have been in business for several decades, and they focus on one thing, which they do very well. Well, they don't focus on one thing only, but they focus on a very limited amount of things, and that allows them to do those limited things quite well. For me, they're the first and last stop when it pertains to wood vision frames, wood louvers, door plants, flush wood molding, situations where you need to install this material into a wood door, generally a wood door, although occasionally you'll see it in metal clad doors and other types of doors as well. Fiberglass doors, you'll sometimes see them. But wood vision frames is one thing that they do quite well. A summary of what they can do. Admittedly, a long-winded summary. Let's start at the beginning. First of all, Easy Set can manufacture wood vision frames that are either the typical screw-together light kit, where you have integrated lipped molding, and lipped molding will generally look like this in profile. So if you had, here are two disparate pieces of wood, but in general, that cross-section will look something like that. Okay? So this is going to sandwich down to 1 3/4 inch thick wood door. You're going to have your pocket for glass. Okay? You'll have one side that will have a hole and a countersink for a screw, and the other side will be pre-drilled for that screw to go together and allow you to screw that kit together. Okay? These are just two different pieces of wood that kind of show you what it looks like. These are just cutoffs for purposes of this video. So they make screw-together type light kits, very common, where you're going to cut a hole in the door and you're going to put your bottom piece down on the what would be the lock side of the door that generally has the glass already glazed to it. Then you bring your trim piece down and over, and then you tighten your screws very carefully around the perimeter, and that's your installation. That's simple. They're going to be able to make that for 1 3/4 doors, of course 1 3/8 doors. I will probably say this often, but special requests are encouraged to be considered by Easy Set. They enjoy reviewing that, and also sometimes accommodated as well. You might have a need for something that's not in the catalog. Let's give an example. You're doing well, very commonly, you're going to do something like African mahogany flush wood doors. Well, you can't put oak or basswood or beech or maple into that. It needs to be a matching species of wood. Having done this in the past with Easy Set, there's generally a minimum quantity that you need to be purchasing, because they've got to source the lumber for that material. They're not going to keep all the wood species that are available. So custom requests, special door thicknesses sometimes can be accommodated, not always, because that's a tooling problem if you get out to something unusual when it comes to a lip molding. Flush molding is another example of light kits that they can do. Here is an example of their typical flush molding. Okay, this is going to be beech, doesn't matter the wood species, but it's going to look like this profile, have a radius. Okay, this would be where the door sits. Your glass would sit over here. Okay, and obviously that's going to be brad nailed in. So lipped light kits, very common. 1 3/8, 1 3/4 thick doors. Flush molding for 1 3/8, 1 3/4 thick doors. Obviously flush molding is more appropriate when you're doing odd door thicknesses, if they don't have the tooling to do a flush mount. But generally, if you're doing a custom door like that, you're not going to see a light kit wrapped to the face, although sometimes you would. They're going to be able to do that in their catalog. Their standard wood species are going to be basswood, they're going to be beech, they're going to be red oak, and they're going to be hard maple. Those are going to be some common wood species. They can do others, like I had said earlier. We just need to quote that material. The vision frames, regardless of them being flush molding or lip molding, those are going to be single door lights. They can do dividers, where you can take a single door light. You might need a 15 light kit. That's very common. You're going to have a pair of French doors and you need it to be 15 light. Now, the light kits are going to be a single piece of glass with surface applied mutton bars. I happen to have an example of what that looks like here. Here's a little, maybe a 6x6 for purposes of this video. This light kit will serve as a great example for lipped light kits, regardless. That's for an 1 3/8 door. You can see that it's a little bit smaller. With 1/8" glass. This is obviously a 4 light. So these mutton bars, of which there is a profile in the items that are multi-light kits showing you what the T-shape of the mutton bar is. And those are just nailed in. They're created in that look and are very nice. They're incredibly common. You see them all the time. One nice thing about the way that Easy Set does 10 light, 15 light, prairie style, 2 light, 3 light, whatever the case is that it is a single piece of glass. And it is generally a kit. The point of the matter is you end up replacing the entire piece of glass should you have a problem with the glass, rather than an individual piece of glass that you would be replacing. You'd remove the kit. That could be a disadvantage because you're buying an entire piece of glass should you need to replace it. It could also at times be an advantage. It's a cleaner sort of way to reinstall something. Okay, so single light, all the different light types. Sunburst they can do, which is a half circle. You'll see that in the top of a wood door very often, or in the top of a 4-panel door. You'll see a sunburst at the top. They do those as well. They will do prairie style. I had mentioned that before. That's not uncommon. You see those as well. It's the same thing as like a 10 or a 15 light kit. And there is, by the way, a link below this video to the manufacturer's page, or maybe it's above this video, to the manufacturer's page where you can not only see all of the items from Easy Set that we sell, but a link to their catalog so you can review this stuff. Prairie style is very common. You are going to be able to, as I had said earlier, basswood, beech, red oak, and maple. There will be a link in this extended description giving some properties of the wood itself. Generally, when you are doing a light kit, the species of the wood needs to be very complementary, if not the same species, of the face of the door itself. You know, if you're doing birch doors, you're going to use maple light kits for that because it stains up very well in terms of it being birch. Plus, birch as a lumber is not as feasible to a shop as maple is as lumber. It can be done, but maple is what is generally used. If it's a paint grade situation, you'll be looking at beech or basswood. Obviously, red oak would be the case. You know, if you were doing white oak doors, I might opt to have white oak vision frames made specifically for that job. You are going to get different properties in the staining of that material, clear coating as well. So generally the wood species is going to match unless it's paint grade, or in the event where it's birch, and then you're going to, industry standard would be to give you maple for that. Now looking at the link to the catalog that's there, it might be called price list as well, but the document serves both purposes. You will be able to buy these kits as open door lights, and you'll be able to buy them as having glass in them as well. And now glass, let's focus on the glass. First of all, the standard glass is 1/8" tempered. That's just the standard. That doesn't mean what you want or need or would order, but the standard, the common, is 1/8" tempered glass. The prices in the price list are going to be based on the standard, 1/8" tempered. In the link to the catalog or price list, the last page shows the different types of glass that are considered common. So they're listed. 1/8" tempered, obviously 1/4" tempered glass. In terms of tempered glass, you can do other thicknesses of tempered glass as well, although 3/8, you see it very occasionally. It can be accommodated, of course. Then you're going to get into laminated glass. Some people will want 1/4" laminated glass for properties required on the job site. You'll be able to do wire glass, and they're doing what's called Misco glass and not Georgian. I also know it as diamond wire rather than square wire. Square wire, I would know it as Baroque wire. You would see it in the 1950s sort of construction. Square wire is very common, but at some point it became Misco wire, and for the last, handful of decades, it's always been diamond wire or Misco. Then you're going to get into insulated glass. They can do 1/2-inch insulated. They can do 5/8 insulated, I believe. Let's take a look. Yeah, they can do 5/8, 1/2-inch insulated, 5/8 insulated. They can get up to 1-inch insulated glass. The truth of the matter is, if you have a specification that wants insulated glass and you are expecting 2 panes of 1/4-inch tempered, you're probably going to be at 1/2-inch glass. Pardon me, a 1-inch insulated unit. So they can do all of that, and I happen to have an example of that molding for a 1-inch piece. Okay, and obviously your glass pocket sits in here. 1 3/4 special insulated for 5/8 to 1-inch glass. That exact prep is not for 1-inch. It looks far too small. It's probably for 5/8. So what will change is this dimension here, okay, for a thicker piece of insulated glass. Then, continuing on down and through the types of glass, you'll get into a low E or a low E and argon-filled sort of insulated unit. Your job site may call for that. Then you can get into some pattern glass. Pattern 62, there's an image on those items that will show you what pattern 62 looks like. Aquatex, rain glass, crystal flutex, textured flutex, glue chip, one of my favorites. Antique glass, another one of my favorites. Antique is really nice because it gives you a little character to the door. It's still transparent. You can certainly still see through it, but gives a little more to the door than just clear tempered wood. And then 1/8 of an inch or 1/4-inch satin etch tempered, or what's called frosted glass, or maybe a sandblasted sort of glass. That's not uncommon as well. What you're going to find the problem with a frosted glass is the oil in your hands will discolor frosted glass, and I think the material used for cleaning that is just vinegar. Don't quote me on that. I've forgotten all these years what is the best way. If you're building an insulated unit and you need one side frosted, tell them to put the frosted side on the inside so you can't get fingerprints on it. Now, the issue with the glass of that list, certainly there's a lot more types of decorative glass that can be accommodated. There's dozens of different types of glass. The issue with the decorative glasses, or anything other than 1/8 of an inch, there is a reference in the price book or the catalog to 4 square foot minimum. Here's the problem. If you're doing a bunch of 5x20s and you want to do 1/4-inch laminated glass, no problem. The issue is that each 5x20 vision frame picks up the entire 4 square foot cost of a piece of glass. So a 5x20, that's 100 square inch, or less than a square foot, is the same cost for the glass as you'd have on a 2 foot by 2 foot size. That's just the glass industry. That's how they run. 4 square foot, 3 square foot minimum. 4 square foot in the case of Easy Set is the situation. 2 things to know. If there's no specification on your tempered glass, maybe just stick with 1/8 of an inch. It is industry standard. If you're unsure of that, maybe clarify what your client or what you require. How thick of glass do you need? If 1/8 inch is okay, stick with it, because otherwise, if you go to any of the other pieces of glass, you're picking up the cost of the door light, the open door light, and then the full load of 4 square feet of glass. That's number one. Number two, any of the other decorative types of pieces of glass, those again can be done. It would be quoted. You'd be picking up again the 4 square foot minimum price for sure of that sort of material. So keep that in mind in terms of pricing this material. You could easily see a very expensive 10 by 10 with a piece of crystal flutex, and you say to yourself, "Gosh, why is this over $100?" It's that 4 square foot minimum. It is the issue with that. You're picking up that much of the cost. Now, to tie off the end of the glass conversation, all glass used in door lights comply with Federal Law 16 CFR 1201 and ANSI Z-97.1.1975. Standard glass in all door lights is 1/8 of an inch clear tempered unless otherwise noted. Other glass types are available. Call for a quote. Now, it's important to know that glass code changes. It's very important to understand that EasySet can sell you an open door light, but they are specifically saying that they are not knowingly selling you a door light where you're a prairie style door light or a full glass, you know, a 24 by 64, and you're going to install into a piece of plate glass, which becomes a guillotine kind of problem. So EasySet is specifically saying that they are not knowingly selling open door lights in violation of any safety glazing laws or regulations. It's building code. They're selling you an open door light. What you put into it is your responsibility, expressly your responsibility. Customer's responsibility to ensure that any open door lights purchased are glazed with certified safety glazing materials. All door lights must be safety glazed. So whatever you do to it, EasySet's expressly stating it must comply with all safety code regulations, is what they're saying. In terms of glass, that concludes this portion of the video. The screw together light kits, they're going to come with a number 9 by about 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inch, like a zinc dichromate colored screw. Okay, very typical. It's already pre-drilled. You just have to, you know, screw it in. It might be an oval head, I think is what it will be. But, you know, you'll attach it. It's very simple and straightforward. When you are prepping your doors for the cutout, of which I've done countless times, generally a template and a router is how you would want to go about doing that. Sure, people have used a circular saw. I say that's not the way to do it. You know, set yourself some templates or some stops and use a router and router that real nice. The idea of the router and the template is if you have more than one to do and you take the time to build one template, you're taking that time on the first door anyway. Then your second and subsequent preparations are going to be so fast it won't even be worth talking about. I would build my template to be the exact width of the door. Okay, so and at the top of the cutout, squared off to the top of the door. So I didn't have to do any thinking at all after I made the template. I just had to square it off to the top of the door, clamp it down, and just run my plunge router all the way through it until I was done. That's the way to go with that. Allow your template to not allow you to shoot yourself in the foot. Make the template as smart as possible. The only downside of the router is you will have to come back and square those corners out because you're going to have a corner here, and we're going to get to the cutout size requirements in a moment. You'll have to go back and square those corners, but it's a pretty quick process. Chisel, corner it out, chisel on all four, flip the door over, and finish off the squaring over. I like to start with the side opposite of where the screws will be so that when I flip it over and lift it up and put my bottom portion in and lay my trim on top, then I'm good to go. So knowing the hand of the door, left hand, right hand, reverse, right hand, reverse, during the process of machining it is helpful to minimize the amount of work. Let's talk about order size, glass size, hole size. The formula of all of that is dependent on the thickness of the glass because the trim changes. It's dependent on whether it's lip molding or flush style molding. Each extended description of the item you're looking at will expressly state all those values. I will in this video give just the most common example of an 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch for that matter door light glass thickness formula. So here's how it works. The order size, when you order a 10 by 10 or a 5 by 20, you are ordering a vision frame where the glass itself measures that size. That doesn't really tell you a lot of information. If you're ordering a 5 by 20, okay, the glass is 5 by 20. Well, it tells you what size glass to order if you're ordering open door lights. That's important to know. but let's extend it out. So your order size equals the glass cut size. That's good to know. The hole size, in our example, is 1 inch wider and 1 inch taller than the order size. 5 by 20, you need a 6 by 21 hole. That's what you got to have, square those corners out. The visible glass size, so knowing your door cutout size, that's important to know. It's 1 inch wider in each dimension. 5 by 20 equals 6 by 21. Another common question is, what's the visible? How much can I see through? That is the order size minus 3/4 inch. So your 5 by 20 is going to be 4 1/4 clear by 19 1/4 clear visible through the door. Another common question is, what's the outside dimension? That's going to be the order size plus 1 7/16. So a 5 by 20 is going to be 6 7/16 by 21 7/16. Now, from knowing the order size, which is the arbitrary starting point, you now know what the net glass size is, you know what the hole size is, you know what your visible size is, and you know what your outside dimension is. The only thing that changes is, based on the glass thickness, those values change, and rather than go through all of them here in this video, just refer to the extended description. But that's how you do it. You're going to order from us 5 by 20s with 1/8 inch tempered, and you're going to say, now I have to order my wood doors. What size do I cut the hole? There's your formula. Okay, that's how you go about doing it. Going through some of the other bullet points, returns and cancellations. Orders processed here are, believe it or not, handled practically instantaneously. Practically. The ordering system here is automatic. It flows to the vendor automatically. That happens as soon as you submit the order. Now, realistically, it doesn't mean within 14 seconds after you completing your order, there's someone in the shop packaging the material up. But it can happen. So the policy is that once an order has been started, it cannot be canceled or changed. You have to consider the order started when you submit the order. It could be that you ordered a 6 by 6 4 light 1 3/8 door with beech, and then 20 minutes later the factory had it packaged up, boxed up, ready to go. That does happen. Instances where you need to try to change an order are handled on a case-by-case scenario. The initial answer is no, we can't change it. The full answer is, let's see if we can change it. The policy is no, we can't change it, but let's see if we can actually. Who knows? Maybe nothing's happened. And once they're made, returns are not accepted. Okay. Shipping this material is part and parcel to the difficulty in selling door lights. 24 inch and larger gets costly to ship because there's handling fees involved from both the from both the manufacturer in terms of how they have to physically treat the material so that it's boxed up properly, such that when the carrier gets it and ships it, and if it arrives damaged, you're shipping glass, the carrier can't go back to the shipper, EasySet, or us, and say, you improperly packaged it. So it becomes costly to ship 24 inch and larger sizes because of what has to go into it. Plus the excise handling charge that's applied by the carrier as well. So you're going to see costs. If you're doing onesie twosies, these will be costly, and it's because of what we're facing in terms of getting the material manufactured and safely shipped to you. The shipper bears all responsibility for that damage. Until the point where you sign for it, the responsibility is on the shipper. Once you sign for the material, you have a different sort of, the responsibility is yours, is the bottom line. Any claim for damage you would file with the carrier at that point. So when you see door lights, or louvers for that matter, that are greater than that, 24 inch and greater, yes, it is costly to ship that stuff, and that's what has to go into it. Not so bad if you're ordering 20 or 10, not bad really at all. But onesie-twosie stuff are tough in terms of the cost. Uh, there is an image below this video showing a cross-section of the door light profile as it applies to what you're looking at or ordering. And that's handy to be able to see exactly what the cross-section, the cross-section of what you're ordering looks like. Scrolling through the rest of the catalog, using it as a guide by which to fully dissect this product line, a variety of different sizes, dozens of different sizes. Anything can be made. Very commonly, fractional sizes are not uncommon because you're dealing with a door cutout size that you're fixed to. You might have a 5.5 by 27 3/4 inch door size cutout in the door, and you need to have a 1 inch smaller vision frame. Absolutely, we can do that for you. Not a problem at all. There is always a percentage surcharge on top of the next largest size. That's very typical and common for that sort of scenario. But the good news is you can get it. It just costs more. Couple of notes: 1 3/8 cannot be 1 3/8 thick doors. You can't get them insulated, and you can't get them made of maple. That's a restriction to in the manufacturing process. Again, order size is the glass size. Hole size in the door is 1 inch wider and taller than the order size. Okay. Because of the nature of what these are, in terms of them being non-returnable, non-refundable once production is started, it's best we need to understand that any errors for material ordered verbally we're not responsible for. We encourage you to order it through the website. This way you can take your time and study everything that's there. Ask all the questions prior. Be sure that it's exactly what you need. We're a resource to make sure that it's done once and done that one time correctly. So do be mindful that orders placed verbally, we're unable to accept responsibility for an error. So use us as a resource, then place your order online is the way to go. Different door sizes, all the different sizes for light kits: 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 10 light, 15 light, sunburst, prairie style, all of that's possible. Now, you can also order all of this material open, just an open door light. You're going to supply your own glass. You're the contract on the job, you're the door guy. You're specifically not supplying any glass at all because that's the glazier's job. He's got it in his contract, open door lights. That's what you're going to order from us, open door lights. United inches is how the size of that is expressed and priced. United inches is the dimension of the width, the height and the width added together. So it's simply this: how tall is the kit, how wide is the kit. Add those two dimensions together, and that's what's called the united inch. And that's how the door lights are sold. So if you had a 10 by 10, you've got 20 united inch. If you had a 5 by 20, you've got 25 united inch. And that's how those are sold. You've got your choices of all the 4 wood types: basswood, beech, oak, maple. Maple's 1 3/4 only. That material you then will specify for the glass thickness that's going to be supplied. Keep in mind, everything that is put in there has to be safety rated. Everything in there has to use safety rated glazing material as well, so that it's completely code compliant. Open door lights are very common in the lipped style. Okay. Then we get into lineal moldings for both the lipped and the flush. Now, a lot of door shops will buy from us. They'll say, give me 1,000 lineal feet of random length, basswood not to, all lengths must be 72 inch and longer, or whatever the specification is. Or you can say, give me 1,000 feet, I need 110 foot pieces is what I need. You can specify it any way that you like, and it is priced accordingly. having some lipped molding, if you're a door shop, is really nice. You don't have to have a lot of it because you're probably not going to be making your own custom vision frames that often, but people do, and it's really not that difficult. You're going to cut your pieces, get them into a fixture so that you can staple the corner together, turn it around, fixture the last two pieces, staple them together, do that again, put it together and staple it, and I like to use a screw drill and countersink for my screws, and that will give me my pre-drill and my countersink for the screw. The point of that is it allows you the flexibility of being able to make a light kit now, today. You want to deliver the door on Friday? Well, the typical lead time on this material is published at 2 or 3 weeks. You might not have the time. Having some lineal molding lying around is a great idea. Obviously, flush molding, in my experience in a door shop, is far more common, where you'd have lots of lineal foot of, beech, red oak laying around, maybe a little bit of maple. You're going to want to have that stuff if you're a door shop so that you can quickly miter, trim your door, turn it over, glaze it, trim the rest of it, nail it all in, maybe a little bit of putty in corners if it's necessary, hopefully not. And that's how you go about doing that. Then finally, along those lines, and it's not really related to this, but it is in the sense that it is also offered. EasySet has 3 types of door plants. I don't know where the name plant comes from, except that you're going to plant it to the face of the door or apply it to the face of the door. And it's trim. It's going to emulate a panel look. It will allow you to take a flush door and apply molding to it so that you separate it from just the run-of-the-mill flush door. Here's a scenario. You've got maple doors. They're fire rated, and a 6-panel fire rated maple door is really expensive. Really expensive. Your architect might say, yeah, but for what we're doing, we need 100 lineal feet of hard maple, plant molding profile 203, which is one of the 3. They have 202, 203, 202 is real common. 203, they're all common. 202, 203, 204, those profiles are common, and you'll be able to take that, cut it, glue it, brad nail it, and make yourself look like you have something nice there, and still maintain all the code requirements of a fire-rated door. So that's one thing that EasySet does as it applies to a door scenario, a door shop scenario. So this concludes the video of EasySet's wood vision frame offering. I'm partial to EasySet. They are not the only company in the world that makes door lights. For me, they are the only company in the world that makes door lights. Here's why. Excellent customer service, which really doubles as technical support. You never need to get past the first person you talk to at that company in terms of a question you'll ask. Excellent shipping, lead times, excellent packaging, very fair prices, and like I said earlier, decades of experience doing what they do. The fact that their footprint is relatively small in the industry within which they work allows them, in my opinion, to absolutely excel at this. And when they take something that can be a problem on a job, door lights and glass, and they make it the least complicated portion of your job, you become to be dependent on that. And EasySet delivers that over and over and over again. They're one of the easiest vendors I have that I deal with. My name is Rich Howard. I'm the owner of Architectural Builder Supply. If you have any questions on the EasySet series of wood vision frames or any other EasySet product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.